So I became a doula after I had a really positive birth experience with my own doula. I was able to have the birth that I really envisioned for myself, and that felt very empowering. And I realized what a huge role my own doula played in that, and I really wanted to offer that to other women. I think a lot of times we think that we have to have birth a certain way, or we have to have our babies a certain way, even though we're envisioning something completely different for ourselves. And so to see women really tap into the power of their bodies and their intuition is really amazing. We are not taking the place of your husband. We are not your primary support person unless you request that we are. But labor can be a really long process. And so sometimes your husband needs a break, or your husband wants to support you, but he doesn't know what stepping up to support you looks like. And so as your doula, I'm really here to kind of fill that gap for them, to make sure that they can support you in a way that feels good to you, and in a way that you need. And sometimes they just need a little bit of help figuring out what that looks like. So we're not here to take your husband's place, but just to act as an additional support person for you. You will have plenty of hospital staff that you interact with, but you will only see your doctor a couple of times throughout the course of your labor if you're having a hospital birth. Sometimes they'll stop and check on you in the morning when they're doing rounds, and the nurses are handling a multitude of patients at one time. So if their labor and delivery floor is full, they're not going to be able to provide you much individualized attention. And nurses are mostly there to provide you with medical care. So they don't focus as much on how you're doing emotionally and mentally, what you could be needing as far as movement, or just comfort measures even. Sometimes they are limited in how much they can offer you. And a doula is really there to provide you with emotional, physical, and informational support throughout the course of labor and birth. Our jobs are pretty different. Nighttime support is usually centered around the baby, and so we will come and either we can bring the baby to you if you're breastfeeding, and you can feed, and then I can take the baby back and burp them, change them, get them settled back to sleep. Or some moms like to have a full night's rest, and so I'm happy to bottle feed either breast milk or formula if you are wanting a full night's sleep while I'm there. And then again, I can burp them, hold them as long as they need to be held, and then get them settled back to sleep. Sometimes, juggling everyday tasks can feel like a lot, running on lack of sleep, and so kind of helping you organize your thoughts of what needs to be done that day, helping you with what I can while I'm there, so dishes, light housework, breastfeeding. Sometimes we find that moms are having a bit of pain with breastfeeding, or sometimes latching is a challenge, and so basic lactation support is something that I'm always happy to help with, and really just putting one foot in front of the other after you are juggling new motherhood. So one thing that I think we run into a lot with first-time moms and even moms of multips is that you don't know what you don't know until you're in the situation and you realize that you were not properly educated beforehand. And so when you're in labor, it's really hard to kind of process through what all of your options are, and not just options, but information. So what's actually happening physiologically in your body through each stage of labor. And so when you educate yourself on that beforehand, you're a lot more, I think, comfortable with it happening in present time, because you know that your pain is serving a purpose. Your body is doing what it needs to do to prepare to birth your child, as opposed to going through the experience blindly and not knowing what's happening to your body. It can make things feel a bit scarier, and sometimes it can be harder to stay grounded and present when you're not exactly sure what's happening. A question that we get asked is, how many births have you done? But really a better question to ask us is, how do we show up to support our clients in labor? What does our personal doula support look like? A lot of times that matters a lot more than the actual number of births that we've attended. Frankly, that's pretty irrelevant, because something happening in your labor could be our first time experiencing, just because we've been to 100 births before. So really, I think navigating challenges, how do we navigate different scenarios that arise? How can we ourselves calm and grounded so that we can keep you calm and grounded. A lot of times these are more effective questions when choosing your doula than asking straight out how many births we've attended. Birth plans change all the time. If your birth plan happens to change, depending on the circumstance, we will walk through that with you, however that looks. So if you planned on having an unmedicated birth and you decide that an epidural is a better option, we're there to support you emotionally. Sometimes that can be a lot to process when you have a big change in your birth plan, but really whatever that looks like for you. So if you need more emotional support at that time, or you need more physical support because for whatever reason you're not able to get an epidural